Batman, LB, Rupert, Albert, and the Bishop Paul Brown. Batman for the 2020-2021. And you know what it is. You know Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego too. This is Paul Rupert.
We're back!
Coming out with a brand new thought, covered under the blood in which we were born. So we know how to get to.
Is for bold, A is for active, D is for determined. When you consider King David valiantly, you have an idea and understanding of overtaking this. Stay tuned.
Hallelujah, revive us again.
We are excited to bring fresh commentary, good conversation with two bad men. Boy, you don't want to miss this. Bad Man for Christ. Join us.
Stands for determined, just like Peter when he did his first sermon. As the saying goes, bad men for Christ. That is how we'll be for the rest of our life. Sit back, relax, and enjoy our show because we're stuck in the house with nowhere to go.
Welcome everybody. Oh my goodness. Welcome to another edition of the Bad Man Show.
Telling you, so it's another great Monday. It's another great Monday where the Bad Man Show can air. It's another great Monday.
Man, I'm always excited just to be here with you, Overseer, along with our listening audience, and it's a delight. All right, so let's get this show going. What's going on?
Man, well, first of all, it's great being here with you too, Bishop. It's great, awesome, and thank God for everybody's been watching, and we hope that they continue to do so every day, every minute, every hour. But today, in today's world, there's no newspapers. They're gone. People don't really look at magazines that much. They're gone. So, one media source that ever stopped.
We haven't. I believe we might be having some technical difficulties here. Yes. Let's bring in our producer, see if we can get some understanding as to what's going on. Oh, there you go. Yeah, we're having some technical difficulty, Overseer.
I'm having trouble.
Yes, it's on his end. It's on his end. Oh my goodness. Well, our overseer is about to talk to us about media and the different how life has changed over the years. We have seen rather print gone, and life is just changing. I guess by the minute. And we wanted to talk to you tonight, the overseer and I, on the media industry, and we have a very special guest that both of us, both overseer and I, know for a good number of years, and we would like for her to join us and share with us, not only and our listening audience, how things are changing in the media industry. And so we're just going to proceed, and hopefully our overseer will join us momentarily. Well, welcome. We want to welcome to our listening audience, Lady Sharon Barnes Walters. Welcome to the Bad Man Show.
Thank you, Bishop and Overseer, when he comes back.
Yeah.
Thank you for inviting me. We go back a long way.
Oh yeah. What? Yeah. Long way.
Long way, long
When we
way.
were young and just got married and running you
Here and there.
department with children. My goodness, it's been a
I was
long
saying to
time.
you before, I said, I think your wife was pregnant during our administration. You know, we had babies, we were carefree, and we just wanted to make ministry work. And I think
Oh my.
we did an awesome job.
Oh, great. And I'm telling you, it's a delight to have you on.
Thank
We
you.
thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us. And I want to just go ahead. The first question that I have for you, like for you to share with our audience, is just to tell us, our audience, a little bit about yourself. You know, anything
Well,
personal, professional, ministry. We're just gonna let you take a go at it. A go at it.
well, Sharon Barnes Waters, the wife of David E. Waters, married for almost 13 years, 12 and a half years of marriage. Even I'm shocked. Still.
Wow,
Yes,
that's
I
a
know.
while.
I know. It's been a lot long. And my parents, Bishop Leslie and Etta Barnes, whom I love dearly. I honor them, and that's why I keep the Barnes Waters. I keep the Barnes because they are responsible for who I am today. That basic background and my rearing up was them. So I keep that. I've worked for 1010 Wins since I graduated from college. I have been their baby from then on. And I know we're going to talk a little bit about it, but it was my senior year is when I started to see where I wanted to go with that particular career. David and I go to a Christian Pentecostal church in Irvington. Now they changed the name to Transcend Worship Center. And if you know anything about Irvington, it has very tough pockets of the city. And so the church really focuses, our ministry is focused on the community, getting those people on the highways and hedges and the drug houses and the prostitutes. They come in, and the church is doing a great work with working with the mayor and the city council and the police,
Wow.
ministering to
Wow.
the community. And I'm
Wow.
I'm youth every day. How can I help the youth? That's me from First
Oh my.
United. What can I do? That's always been at the heart of who I am.
Bless. Oh, that's wonderful. All right. Well, talk to us a little bit. When did you come to realize that you wanted a career in media? And I heard you said you went to 1010 Wins right out of
Right.
college. When did you come to that realization that that's what you really wants to do?
Not everybody finds out early in life, but I actually found out when I was in junior high school. IS
Wow.
210 in the hood. They had a career day when I was in junior high school. And the moderator said, think about the things, if you want to talk about a career, she said, it's never too early to think about a career. Think about what you're good at. Think about your hobbies. Maybe you can mesh the two or your personality and come up with a career. I loved history. I loved current events. And my mother knows I talk entirely too much. Love talking. And I said, what can I do with that kind of a career? I loved writing. What can I do with that kind of a career? And it just hit me. Journalism. Now, I knew nobody in journalism, in broadcasting, print, radio, TV, knew nobody. But I said, because of my love for current events and my love for history and my love for talking and for writing, is this something I could do? And when I came up with that, I was like, yeah, I'm going to see if I can pursue that, set a career path to pursue that. And so for me, when I graduated, I went to college. I decided to go to most people go straight to a 4-year college. I wanted 4 full years of journalism. So my career path, and I have to say, I go back to church because, and I always, when I talk about my career, I think about God. I thank God for the path that he showed me and directed me, because the ministry in First United, I was doing a lot of stuff in First United. And while my friends wanted to go away to college, at that particular moment in my life, I was like, there's too much work for me to do in First United. Let me stay and find a college here. It was painful because everybody was getting the campus experience, but I wanted to be of assistance here in Brooklyn. I said, God will open up a way. I wanted 4 full years of my major. So I went to Kingsborough Community College first. The moment you step in there, you are in your major. I was a broadcasting major the moment I stepped through the door.
Wow.
And I knew that they had a radio station. And I went right to the radio station and I said, no, it was a music station with news. And I said, I want to do news. I want to be your newscaster. And I auditioned and I was able to be their newscaster. And for the entire time I was there, I was doing news. And that's where my love of radio came in. After graduating, I didn't want to leave the station. They were like, you got to go. Because I was holding on to the radio station. I went to NYU after that, New York University, and went to their radio station. And their radio station was like, they were so snotty and they were so snooty. And I was like, no. So what I wanted to do is I got 2 internships, one at Nightline, where I worked for a year with Ted Koppel. And the second one was at NBC News. That's before Al Roker became Al Roker and those guys became big. I interned there for a second year. My last semester at NYU, there was a job opening. I went and looked on the website. I saw there was no website. I looked at the papers and my college posted job openings. And there was one that said 1010 Wins. So I went to 1010 Wins. It wasn't in the newsroom. It was a sales assistant. But I loved Wins. There was 2 places I was going to work, Wins or I was going to work at Nightline. And when I went, they said, no jobs in the newsroom. It was a sales assistant. But I said, there is only a door between the newsroom and the sales department. I'm going to take this job. And that was a long time ago. I said, I'm going to take that job. But I let it be known. I went to NYU and this was what I wanted. And when I would work my 8 hours as a sales assistant, go into the newsroom and hand them little things and say, can you read this? Can you review this? Can I learn from you? So that was 8 hours there, then some more hours in the newsroom, just learning, not working, just, going to people and asking them, can you mentor me? Can you look at this? Can you read this? And then when a freelance position opened up in the newsroom, the editor said, Sharon, and I took it. I went right into the newsroom.
Great. Awesome. Well, Lady Walters, we got Badman Overseer back on. Oh, Overseer, thank you for coming back. Yeah. Thank you for pushing.
I think a producer just kicked me off, didn't want me on here. So he did something too. I think what it was. They didn't like my background. I don't know what the deal is. They're going to change backgrounds or something. I don't know, but it's good to see you, Sister Waters. Bless you, Sharon. How are you doing? I missed the whole entire beginning. So let's rewind real quickly. How you doing, Sharon? You doing all right?
I'm good. I'm good, Overseer. Good to see you.
Awesome.
Overseer, I just want you to know, I paid our producer to get rid of you because I wanted to do that
all for yourself. You want that president-vice president connection?
You got it. We work together.
That's what it is. I get it. I'm not hurt. I'm not, no, but thank God for technology. It doesn't work all the time, but you just have to switch some things. This is a lesson to those who only have one computer. Make sure you have multiple computers where this kind of stuff happens. Oh, Lord. But please, everybody, please don't forget to subscribe or like us on Facebook. We want you to join us. And if you have any questions or comments, now is the time to ask them. We have a great guest. And some of the stuff she's talking about right now, I didn't know. Oh my God. I didn't know you went to NYU. I didn't know you were on Nightline. I mean, we traveled sometimes. I remember the one year you brought all those movies in the van. I forget where we were.
I'm still getting them.
You're still getting them.
Because I'm a part of the Writers Guild of America East. So we have to vote on movies. So between October and January, we get all the movies, all of them, because we have to vote on them.
I actually remember you bought. I'm like, wait a minute. These movies didn't come out yet. Where'd you get these movies from? It was great, but okay. I digress. Let's get back to the show. So go ahead,
so Overseer, we got past the initial thing information. Really, where we at now is we want to ask Lady Walters about the challenges of being an African American woman in the media industry. That's where we at.
Okay.
It's African American, period. There are not enough of us in this industry. So when, and I said this, when the whole racial reckoning happened with George Floyd, every company wanted to know, Black people, what can we do? You know, they all wanted to do that. And so people were looking at their companies and saying, you know, what can we do to make it better? African Americans, whether it be male or female, when we are not in those decision-making places, then you get the kinds of stories and you get the kinds of news reports that don't align with who we are. We are all not the same. I told my company, you know, and again, the blessings of God, my news director, before he became my boss, he was a reporter and we were friends. So when he became the news director, I just found favor. And I remember telling him years ago, when I was the only Black person in the entire 1010 Wins, I said, I can't be it. There are other people out there that can do this job and other things. And what he did, and he allowed us to do, is we brought in the New York Association of Black Journalists, which I belong to, the New York Association and the National. And we had a meeting and we had a 5-year plan to diversify the newsroom. And that is one thing I took on, is diversifying the newsroom. So that, and I said, again, we're not all alike. So if they have a question about, should they say this word? How will this story play? They can ask me, they can ask somebody else. Our opinions may differ because our experiences may differ, but then we can come to a conclusion. If you have no Black people in your newsroom, all you will see is this of Black folks. That's it. You don't hear their stories. You don't see our greatness. You don't see our history. You don't see our culture. I tell people every day, all day long, I'm Black. I come with a Black perspective. I come with a Christian perspective. I come with a perspective of a woman. Those things will never change. So when we brought in more people, when I got the assignment to then go out and recruit and go into the schools, I was able to then bring other African Americans along with me, so that we could do, and we don't always get it right, but we can get those, we can do those stories and attempt to get it right the majority of the time. And when I see something that aggravates me, or I say doesn't represent us, I call it out. But if we're not in those higher, if we're not the news directors, if we're not in the corporate level, if we're not in those B-suites, making those corporate decisions as we should be, then you get the kind of nonsense you sometimes see on TV.
Right.
Yeah, wow. and Sharon, I hear you 100%. I think it was funny because my wife went through the same thing. Like you're saying, as soon as this Black Lives Matter movement went out and everything was going on, she's now the liaison to the executive committee for African Americans. I mean, it's crazy. So you're 100% right. It's almost retroactive, right? Instead of being proactive, they're retroactive. Like you said, that you were proactive. Let's do this prior to all this stuff going on. That's great.
And then one of the things that he allowed me to do, just to piggyback off of that, is the internship program. It was like, I said, because I cause trouble. Because I know my mother's probably sometimes scared, like my poor child, her mouth, but I have to speak it and I have to represent my people. And I'm always telling them, my people. I have to represent my people. I said to my boss, he was trying to do a lot of stuff, including internships. I said, no, I'll take on the internship program. Don't worry about it. I'll take it on. So I can bring in my young people. You know, as again, I said at the beginning, the ministry of the youth have always been at my heart. And church was my foundation, youth department, working with youth, being a youth. So I was able to say, I'll take it on. And some of the people that they may have not only wins, but the company as a whole may have overlooked. I said, let me give this one a chance. It may not be the A student, but maybe the C student that just needs the chance. Because God knows I'm at, the corporate, the president of this and that is asking me for his babysitter child to come in and intern. So I want to bring in those who may not necessarily have had a chance, but just need the opportunity. So I was
Great.
able to then take over the internship program.
That's great. That's great. That's
Great.
great. That's great.
Yeah.
I think we have a question from the audience. Let's bring the question from the audience. We have a ton
Yes.
more.
Yes. Right.
So Mark Brodus, my good buddy, our good buddy Mark
Hey,
Brodus
brother Mark.
says
Yeah,
how
well, Mark is overseer's vice president, so Mark
Oh.
had to put his word in. Yeah, yeah.
well, yeah, because vice president, president, vice president, we got to work it together. So Mark, thank you. He's asking, so how do we get our people in those high positions? This is kind of a question I was going to ask you anyway, because I was going to ask you what advice would you give to somebody, but here he's asking, so how do we move our people into these high positions?
So you have to, as far as journalism going, being the president of this and that, you have to be in the business. You have to work your way up in a company to try to get to that level. So you're not going to come in as the president of, say, my corporation and make decisions on shows and networks, if it's like an ABC or CBS. You have to kind of start and do the groundwork, the ground business, know the business inside out, and climb that ladder and make sure that you're doing everything. If they ask you to do A, you're doing A. Do A, B, and C before they ask for A, B, and C. You've got to get out there. You've got to go beyond the call of, if your start time is 9 o'clock, that's late. Get there at 8:30. Get there at 8 o'clock. Be proactive and build up your resume, and you can climb the corporate ladder. Make sure that you're seen. Go to your boss and say, I'd like to do this. Get all of that experience, and then keep on climbing until you have a wealth of experience to be in a corporate level. Yeah,
and I think, you said it before too, right? You cannot be afraid to walk into that office and say, I want help. I want mentorship. Right. Whether they're black or white or whoever they are, I want mentorship. I want to be great. Yes. I want to be better. I think that sooner or later, not everybody's going to help you. I'm sure everybody you went to didn't help you, but you're going to find somebody who's willing to do it. And then on the flip side, when you begin to grow, you have to make sure you're willing to help somebody else who comes in.
And you have to listen. If they're giving you, sometimes people don't like critical, constructive criticism. Take it, build on it. I'm not talking about somebody who's just downright nasty. You can take that too and also be a springboard to grow. Take the criticism or the constructive criticism of your work or where you need to go and use that as a launching pad to greater things. Some people turn down you've heard stories where people don't give you a job and then you come back to be their boss. Yeah. You've heard those stories. So my boss and I, when we do the internship, we always say to the interns, and when you're our boss, we want a raise. we always make it fun when because we're not holding on to these positions forever. They could be, who knows how where life will take you. You don't know. But take all of it, the good, the bad. All experience is for a purpose. So whether it's in a negative experience, you feel it's a negative experience, or it's a good positive experience, take it as a launching pad for great success.
Amen.
Our audience, please remember to like us on Facebook, and please just acknowledge on YouTube, so that if you love this show, you love what we're doing, and you enjoy it, we want your acknowledgement. So please go ahead. And overseer, we have another question.
We have another question from Ken W. Great to see you, Sharon. Question. I've seen information about a few individuals or corps that own all media, and have also seen examples of 20 different stations reading the same stories word for word. Your thoughts?
That's when people are lazy. And it depends on the story. Not all story. There's some story that you can get from the Associated Press. So most stations will get the Associated Press, and you can read their copy straight to an audience. Or you can do your own research on a story. So AP, the wires will always send stories, and that's when you get the same basic story. They may be changing a word or two, but that's when people are lazy. So sometimes you see the same story. It's just because it's the news of the day. But if you hear it word for word or you see it word for word, they're probably stripping it from one of the wire services and just reading it. And there's nothing wrong with when it's just, there was an accident on 42nd Street and 2 people are injured. That crosses the AP wire. You say that. There's nothing to add to the story unless there's a big press conference, unless somebody dies. Then you're sending a reporter out and then you're doing a larger story. If it's something small, you can read something from the AP. If it's a big story, your reporters or your staff or your writers should not just be ripping it and reading it or printing it. You should be doing a little more.
That would be me.
So later, Walter. So how was media changed over the last 5 years in your views?
Online.
On every
The
oh my
online
goodness.
space. The online space. They're hiring because you're on air and your online have to be good, but the online component now, they're hiring web producers, podcast producers, writers. So and having a lot of online shows. Here, you have an online show. So that in a news station, if you're talking about just say a news station, they have invested heavily in online, and so many careers have opened up because of online. I remember,
Wow,
it was over 10 years ago. We have what we call NYP plates, New York Police Department issued plates, so I can drive in the boroughs and be able to park in our zones. And most people that worked in the newsroom, whether you're a reporter or not, had the plates. Then came online, the online reporters that said, we're reporters, we need press plates too. And there was a battle with City Hall of how many plates they were going to give out to the online people. Then they started to cut the other people from other stations that really didn't need it. So online has become this big presence where corporations are investing heavily. And I do mean, you see papers that are folding and it's just going online.
Right.
Well, whether it's TV or it's radio, they're making a big push to have a big presence online because not everybody will watch a show or listen to a radio station. So they want both, where people can click online, they can go to a podcast. Even though it's a radio station, they want it to be multimedia kind of a thing going on. So they're investing heavily. A lot of jobs out there, not necessarily full-time all the time, freelance work. In the online space.
So
Wow.
let me ask you real quick. I remember when you had received that information for that first that show that you started. Was that an online?
It is online. It is City Views.
Okay.
It's online. What we had to do with it's City Views.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Talk to us about that.
Yeah. So as I always go back to church. When God blesses you, no man curses.
Amen.
All the time that you're in church and you're doing your little exaltations and you're reading and you're contributing, and it all adds up in your career. Trust me, trust and believe you're going to use it somewhere along the line. And my boss knew. And I'm an executive producer, so I like to be behind the scenes, putting shows together, doing special programming, and then all this whole online stuff was going on. I was talking to him about online. He said, "Well, why don't you do a show?" I was like, "Are you crazy? I like to be behind the scenes." He said, "Sharon, you talk, you got a tude, you can do this. Just come up with a name." I was like, "Come up with a name?" He said, "Just come up with a name for a show. Research, and let's talk about it." And I was like, oh my gosh, I prayed. I was like, is this an avenue that God is opening up for me? And he said, I came up with City Views, went through the legal things and making sure that we could use the name. And I tested it out first with the daughter of Muhammad Ali. She was a friend. And I said, I'll be comfortable with doing my first show with her because we could talk about Parkinson's Unity Walk. And he said, okay. So we did that first show, and I was like, okay. Oh, okay. this seems okay. I think it's something I could do. And I've grown in that. What we did was, because of the pandemic, there was no audience. Everybody, we're in a pod. We're coming out of the pod. So there was no broadcasting. The studios were shut down. So we stopped production on all of that for 1 year, at least 1 year. And now we're opening back up. The thought is, do I want to continue with City Views? Do I want to make it into a podcast? Do I want to do something else? So I'm at this juncture is, what do I want to do? Do I want to continue with that? Do I want to do something else? So I'm at this prayerful crossroads. And as Overseer Johnson, you were saying about your wife, the other crossroads of what I want to do, and I think I'm skipping ahead, with George Floyd came diversity. And so there was a new market manager for New York, for the New York stations. And I went in to talk to him about, this is how I feel. I know what the company's saying. I know they've had a racial reckoning corporate-wise. I know what they promised to do, but there's things that we need to do right here in New York with our 7 stations. And most people don't know in my job, they may know now, I've been meeting with Chris since last June about diversity, equity. And we have been putting some stuff together where I may be leading a division within New York. He said, if I don't know. He said, whatever comes down the pipeline, you have the first dibs at DEI. And
Wow.
I started to put he said, do you want to do hybrid news? Do you want to do hybrid that news? Do you want to do full-time that? He said, we'll have a discussion. So the next few months I have to prayerfully think, do I want to stop that completely? And he said, once we set this up, that's something that won't die. That's a landmark for the New York market, for the New York stations. So I want this crossroad of, do I want to do a hybrid of that with a podcast, or go back in the studio, so I'm prayerfully thinking about where I want to take all
That's
of
awesome.
this opportunity that
Wow. Wow.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
Wow.
We're looking forward to that one. We know that one's coming. We know that one's coming. We're looking forward to that one. We have another question from the audience. So I guess this is another part to his question from Ken W. He's asking, are they told what to read and when? I guess, are the reporters told what to read and when to read it? I guess he wants to know how the nuances of reporting goes when you're in the studios.
When a reporter is given an assignment, if it's like a everyday assignment, you see what's going on, you'll get stuff from the police, you'll look at the wires that come, and you'll see what's happening. Is there a fire? You'll send your reporter to a fire. Are you following up on a story from the previous day? We've been doing a lot of things on the reopening, and Cuomo and all the mayors, the tri-state area mayors, made big announcements. So it's a continuing story. So our reporter, Glenn Schuck, Glenn is going to do reopening for a few days. Is it a continuing story, or is it something that's breaking now? And they have to write their own stories. The reporters write their own stories. Anchoring is a different situation. The anchor is the anchor in the studio, radio, TV, and you have a script. You have a writer that writes the stories for you, as well as you writing some of the stories yourself. Each station is different. Our station, the A story is the lead story. The anchor must write that. The writer helps the anchor with the other stories, but they have to write what's written. They have to read what's written. And if they disagree with something, which we often, will disagree with something, then the editors will have a discussion about that. They don't like how this was said. They don't like how this was written. A reporter can do a story. They may fight against, I don't want to do this story. I don't like, where the editor's telling me to take this story. There's discussions, but reporters write their own. Anchors really are reading what is given and what they have written for a particular story.
That's awesome. So I'm going to go off for a second. Kind of what you were saying before, but a little bit off. This came to my mind. So you're talking with Mayor Cuomo about this new position. We know there's a lot of angst and a lot of anger and a lot of stuff going on. And part of that is the fact that the former president came in and would talk about false media, blah, 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 all this stuff. How have you coped being in the media with this claim of, when you know what you have to do to kind of make your job legit, then you have all these people coming in. I don't know if you had to deal with that but how did you feel and how did you cope with that issue?
Listening to our former president was a trip, and you have to realize that in every business, whether it be news or otherwise, you have people that are pro-Trump, people that are not so much Trump. So you still, even within the newsroom, I know those who are real deep and believe, even though they're in the media, they kind of subscribe to what he's saying. And so it becomes, you have to know who you are. I know that if I'm putting on a story, I'm giving people the facts. My job is not to sanitize the story. My job is to tell my reporters, like, these are the facts of the story. This is what we know now. This is it. Facts change as we get more information. This is a fact as we know it. You will hear, and it was very hard. And I've been to my news director, and he's made statements like, your opinion and your political leanings should not get into a story. We know there are those media that it's just not a legit source of information, like the New York Post, not legit. And Windsor said that. In fact, the note just came out again last week, not a credible source, the Post. And if we quote the Post, we will be responsible if something is false, just as we can't say, well, the Post said. So it's been difficult. It's been difficult, even when Obama was president, working in an environment where you have some people who are a certain way and those of us who are a certain way. You try to be as professional as you can. You know who you are and you know your integrity. And my thing always is integrity. So I don't want to put anything out there that is false. So it's been hard him saying the fake news, the fake news, the fake news. Yes, some of it is fake when people don't do their research, when people don't do their jobs. It can be fake. You have to know. And I was speaking to some students the other day, and I said, you have to do your own, not because somebody tells you. There are topics that are really big, life-changing topics that you just don't take people's word for it. Do your own research. Just don't listen to the media that goes along with your opinion. Listen to other opinions, and then you will get to the truth of the situation. This is why we have QAnon foolishness. People only listen to something that, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, Sharon. You have to make sure you stay on afterwards so you can say it again to one of our wonderful, loved, beloved friends that we will introduce you to after this. So you can say that to them directly.
Yes. Oh my goodness. No. Yeah. Overseer, we have Mark. Mark has another question, and we're kind of running out of time. So let's see if we can get this one in for Mark.
Okay. In your opinion, what companies are the best media outlets for our people, Mark being also African American, for our people to work?
You mean besides 10-10 wins?
Besides 10-10 wins. Besides 10-10 wins. We know that's number one. That's number one. What are the other ones?
You see, it's where I would, if you want to do and it depends. See, I've grown up with Win, so I know what I'm allowed to do. I love a CNN. I love an ABC News. I love when I see a lot of African Americans in certain positions. CNN, ABC News, NBC News. I like those companies. Now, they are not perfect. You've seen the behind the scenes. I love a BET. I love, where our people can grow, where there are news shows. I like, Black entertainment. I like the Amsterdam News. That's a Black-owned paper. If you want to do, I love PBS, where you can expand on stories. Those are great stations to work for. African American stations that are Black-owned station. TV One is another great station to work for, media outlet. But it depends what you're looking for. I have just been given the opportunity to do a lot of Black programming. I've been blessed to be able to do a lot of Black programming. And so this is a good place for me to be, because I have been able to, not had nothing to do with the job description. I've been given the opportunity to bring Black excellence and share with the listening audience that we are not just about this, that we are great, we come from greatness, we are great, and without us, America does not exist. America would not be the country it is today. So I had to bring that to our audience, and I've been blessed to be able to do that.
Well, Lady Walters, I mean, I am delighted. We have a couple more minutes, and I mean, the questions are flowing in, but I have to take some time to say thank you. And I have to echo my other sister, Marvine. She had a shout out about how growing our church and youth department prepped you all for leadership. And when you say prepping for leadership, you know, you got Sister Marvin, you got to remember who was the international youth president. The one that they called, what I was called the dictator. So, but look what the Lord has done.
The Lord has done. You put it on your resume. It's like your resume is like, you know, headed a vice president of an international youth organization. Goes a long way. Leadership.
There you go. There you go. And if you have worked with at that time was Minister Paul Brown and Minister Sharon Barnes at that time. If you had worked with that youth department, you know that you were going to end up in greatness. That's just I can't speak for the Rupert and what is his name again? Grub. We had him on last week. On the other, I can't speak. All I can say is, if we didn't train them, if we didn't put them on the pathway to leadership, I wonder where would they be today.
You know, so let's just remember that I was on that staff too. Thank you
on our staff
very much. I was the financial gentleman on that staff, and if bills were paid, so I just want to make sure y'all remember that.
Did I get paid? Am I owed money?
We didn't pay the leadership. They didn't ask for that. You had to talk to the president. You didn't request any funding. You didn't request any funding.
They defunded the youth leadership. They weren't defunding the police. They defunded the youth.
Yeah, we defunded the youth leadership a long time ago. That happened. No. Yeah. But we have to end. And Sharon, it's been great having you on. Great show. Yes. Bob Thomas says this. He says, so when will you be starting your production and movie making venture? He's waiting for that to happen and roll through.
I've been asked.
You got to go for it. You got to go for it. There's a ton of good stories. A ton of good stories out there, Black stories that you can give. And Sharon, you know a bunch of them and a bunch of people. Yeah. So go for it. I'm not going to say anything, but if people are looking for a new Black show, the Bad Man Show is new and it's Black. I'm not going to say anything, though. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just saying that it's out there, whatever, whatever it can be. But it's been great having you. Thank you so much for being on our show.
Thank you so much for coming on. We truly appreciate it. Thank you for accepting our invitation. We love you. Remember to subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on Facebook. And have a wonderful week. God bless you. And thank you for joining the Bad Man Show. On behalf of Overseer Rupert and the lovely Sharon Walters, God bless you. Have a great, great week.
Hey, Sharon, don't go anywhere. Stay with us. Don't leave. Okay. Goodbye, everybody. Take
Bad Man, LB, Rupert, Albert, and the Bishop Paul Brown. Bad Man for the 2020-2021. And you know what it is. You know Shadrach, Meshach, and the Abednego too. This is Paul and Rupert and we're the new crew. We're coming out with a brand new thought, covered under the